what we're going to do today is we are going to check if a number is a prime number based on the user's input. So last bit there it said we want to do it based on the user's input. So I'm going to say n. You could put number, you could put whatever you want. Lovely filled out there. We want it to be an integer. Remember, if it's a float, they have a decimal point. String is going to be text. We want it to be a whole number. We're going to put integer. We're going to ask the user to input a number. So enter a number, and that's what we're going to have straight away to get the user's input. Now, what do we need to do? Well, we need to define a function to see, based on the user's input, if it is a prime number or if it is not. So we are going to define a function. Remember, it's def. I'm going to say check prime. Now up here, that is filled in number. Actually, what I want to take this n value that the user just put in. So I'm not going to put number, I'm going to put n. And straight away, I'm going to set valid prime. If I could type and spell properly, I'm going to set that equal to true. So based on what user inputs, I'm going to say that it is a prime number. And the code we're going to complete is going to check if it is, and it will break, or it's going to return and say that it is false. So when the user inputs a number, we want to check if it's prime. So 3, for example, is a prime number. It divides by the number 1 and it divides by itself. 4, for example, is not a prime number. It can divide by 1, can divide by itself, but it also divides by the number 2. So first off, I want to say if n is less than 2, we are going to say valid prime is equal to false. Now 1 can divide, is not a prime number. It only divides by 1, which is itself. So the number 1 is not a prime number. There's a fun fact if you never knew it. And underneath it, if we are going to have our else statements, this is where we're going to check every other number that isn't the number 1, essentially. So, it has filled this out for us. That is absolutely perfect. However, what does this code actually do? Well, we have a for loop here. So we are saying, remember, n is what the user inputs. So we're going to say for I in range, starting with the number 2 and going to the number before what the user inputs. So this is 2, and if the user inputs number 8, this loop will go through all the way until number 7. So we're saying if n, remember this isn't dividing. If we want to divide something, we would use a forward slash. We here are saying for what the user inputs divided by I, remember this is going to be a loop, go through every number if the remainder is 0. So it's not dividing by it, it's checking if there is a remainder. So we can say, let's say for example, the user inputs number 4, okay? So if 4, yep, and then we go through a loop here. So what's the remainder if we put the number 2? Well, the remainder is 0. Okay, so that means that valid prime is equal to false. Okay, if there was a remainder, then it would be a prime number. So let's say, for example, instead of doing 4, we go up 1, we go to number 5. So when user inputs this, we go through number 5. So 5, what's the remainder when we divide it by 2? Well, there is a remainder. 5, is it a remainder when we divide it by 3? Yes, there is a remainder. 5 is a remainder when we divide by 4. Yes, there is a remainder. So every time when we divide by 5, there is a remainder. So that means that it is a prime number. So that should work for us absolutely perfectly. We have our else statement there, and we're going to return valid prime. So essentially returning a number. So we have here n, so that's the user's input, and that's what we have used up here. We want to check the user inputs. That should be a less than, not a greater than. So if n is less than 2, so if we put in the number 1, it is not a prime number. Else, so if we put in the number 2 upwards, we're doing a for loop here. For I in range, so for all the numbers in the range of 2 to whatever the user inputs. If you have the user's input number, and then when you dividing that, if the remainder, remember, is equal to 0, then it is not a prime number. And then we need one more thing. So if we run this code just now, I'm going to input the number 5. Now, why is it not giving us? We have this here, but it's not giving us anything out because we've not actually got it to display anything to the screen. So we've used if and else when we've defined the function. Now we're going to do it underneath here as well. So if check prime n, now we've defined what the check prime function is. Print string n plus as a prime number. So if it is true, so if that remains true, remember we said it's true at the start, so we are saying it as a prime number to start off with, and the code we've done is checking to see if it's actually false. So we're saying if check prime is still true, we're going to print off that it is a prime number. Now we have our if, underneath that we need our else. So else, what we're going to go, we're going to print string n, so we're putting the value that the user put in, and we're going to say it is not a prime number. So we put enter number here, 5, we don't have any code displayed. We will run it again, enter the number, let's go for number 5. 5 is a prime number, let's try it again, let's go with the number 8. Number 8, 8 is not a prime number. Have a play with this, see what you think, and let me know if you can think of any other ways that you might like to do this.